Morning, guys. Um, this morning I wanted to come in and actually try to do this video that I have had on my mind really for a very long time. I just really didn't know how to put it because I think there's many layers to it, and so I may get into those layers as well at a different time. But for now, I wanted to talk about the beginning steps to researching Christianity, maybe even leaving Christianity, um, and exploring other things. And I'm going to do that by talking about my experience. And you all bear with me, but I'm really going to try to sum this up in a way that it doesn't seem as if I'm rambling. And you all get exactly what I'm talking about. Growing up, I grew up Church of Christ. If you all don't know anything about Church of Christ, it's kind of like a Catholic church in that there's no instruments. There's no organ. There's no instruments. There is really a lot of as things have changed nowadays, even though I have not been back to that church since I was, probably 16, 17 years old. So, but I don't think that even still today, they're doing, some of this upbeat contemporary type gospel praise songs and things like that, that they're doing in a lot of churches today. Basically, Church of Christ is extremely conservative. It's very, very conservative. There's no women teaching or teachers, or really in any leadership positions. And like I say, this was coming from back when I left when I was 16 or 17, probably about 17 or 18 maybe. I don't know if it's changed. We seem to really be in a whole different world right about now. But which is actually another good topic, because me and a friend were talking about that. It's just really, it seems like somewhere there was some type of shift, and we, some of us got dumped off here. And anyway, so I don't know how things have changed, but bottom line, the church is very conservative. So fast forwarding to that, I went to Baptist, Pentecostal, all these type churches that I was really not familiar with. And now, when I say growing up, my mom we didn't really go to church. We really didn't. I might have went to church from that age of being little to when I left 3-4 times. Tops, really. And it wasn't because my mom was out partying in bars and entertaining men. She just worked, and she just, she believed in God. She would talk about God every once in a while. I mean, she had the understanding and everything, but she just didn't go. Now, why? I don't know. I wish that I had been able to ask, before she passed, why, But so I got into all that. I finally got into ministry. When I first went to New Orleans, I got into ministry. I was extremely young. Didn't even know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was getting into or any of that. And so I was a minister there for years. I'm going to say maybe 8 or 9 years or so, for the entire time that I was there. And then when I came to Houston, I got went back to Houston. I got licensed under this other ministry, Houston ministry, that I was in, and stayed there, I don't know, 3-4 years, whatever, as a minister. But that was, to sum it up, that was the beginning of my beginning to transition. And I say that because we did so much in that little church in Louisiana. We evangelized. We went out. We fed the homeless. I mean, it was a very, very busy church to be such a small church. But when I got back to Houston, that church was really, really big, and it was in the heart of the straight ghetto. Anybody know Acres Homes in Houston? You know what I'm talking about. You know, it's very, very needed for things like evangelism, feeding homeless, giving out things to the homeless and things like that. And bottom line, this church did none of that. You know, it really threw me into really a world that I wasn't used to, because being in that little small church in Louisiana, you know, it was very homey. It was very intimate. I mean, we were like 10 people on a good Sunday. That's how small this church was. And so, but like I say, when I came to this church in Houston, I kind of just joined it. You know, I think I had went to maybe a couple other churches or whatever. And then because I was in that church, they were in the process of building their church when I joined, and they were at that last stage. So I just went to their new church with them, and that's how I got to be a part of that church. But anyway, it threw me into this new world of glamorized church, glamorized preachers, celebrity type. You know, it was a lot of big things going on in that church, and that was really new to me. It was really different for me. It was because my heart was still, why don't we feed the homeless? We have elderly in this church and in this community that we could organize programs to help them pay bills. I mean, I was very, very creative then. I'm still creative, but I wrote this whole thing about how we could help single mothers, how we can, mentor children, how we can help the elderly, some of these teenagers and so forth, get up on the weekends and stuff and go mow an elder's lawn or something like that. Some of these girls and stuff who know how to do hair can do some of these elder ladies' hair when they don't have money or when they don't have anyone to do it for them. You know what I mean? It was all kind of ideas that I had. Anyway, long story short, I really saw it began to turn my heart being in that church, because it was very cold. It was very much about money. The pastor had a Jaguar. The wife had some type of big old fancy car. The church did not give out money. There was no coming to the church for help, all that. That's a whole other story. But it was just one of these typical celebrity type churches now that they have. And so anyway, long story short, that began to mess with me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because my point is, there's too many people in this church, and this community is in too much need for us to be sitting up here in these nice, fine suits and everything and just giving money to the church. I mean, we had to, me being a minister, first of all, you got to be there for everything, every time the church doors open. That was one of the requirements from the pastor. And every time you're there, you have to give money for something. And whether it was a meeting, whether it was choir practice or whatever, because I was also on the praise team. I was on some type of food committee or something. They had dues. everybody had dudes. And at this time, I was a single mom. So I didn't have I didn't have no big, nice, fancy job, you know. Um, but like I say, they allowed me on their minister staff because I knew I was a minister and I knew the scriptures. I knew the Bible. I mean, you couldn't take away the fact that I was a minister. I just didn't have no money, being a single mom. And so, anyway, as my journey continued, actually what happened at that particular church, I stepped down. I stepped down from ministry. I told the pastor's wife, I need to get with myself and God and kind of see where I am or whatever. Crazy thing about that is as soon as I stepped down, and stopped sitting on the front row with the ministers and everything. I mean, I was serious about it. But of course they made me come back. I don't know why. They made me come back and sit on the front row, with the ministers. And then they started, uh, they started, telling me, they started giving me, uh, engagements. They started to give me, more preaching opportunities, more teaching opportunities, And I'm telling them, I'm like, no, for real. Yeah, I stepped down for real. I'm really, because it started making me think that maybe they thought I wasn't getting enough exposure. So they figure, well, if she mad, she want to step down. Let's just let her preach. That's really not what I wanted. Seriously, I was serious about stepping down. Anyway, when I finally left the church, it was a big old situation. This woman lied on me, and because she had been in the church, grew up in that church, her and her husband and all this kind of stuff, the pastor believed them over me because I was in a situation to get her husband in trouble, and I wasn't trying to get her husband in trouble. I was just telling the truth. But she got mad and lied and conspired. And like I say, the pastor believed them. I mean, I was the newbie, So that was a big thing. Basically, the pastor I pretty much wasn't able to come back to the church, which was fine for me. I had already stepped down and everything. And it hurt me very much because it was so unfair, because they never got all of us in a room together to ever sit down and talk this out. They never did that. He just straight took their word and I was gone, And I had opportunities to go back. They put me on some type of little trial punishment, But after that, I was done, because they, eventually, I think like after a month or something like that, the pastor's talking about, well, you can come back and you can whatever. But I'm just like, dude, you don't put nobody out of a church. It's supposed to be God's house and all that. I mean, how do you put somebody out of a church, And so, but I didn't go back. I was done. I was finished, whatever. And I had not left God. I was still reading. I was still communing with God or what have you. My understanding of it at the time. And I was getting closer. I was getting, I was good. So the pastor's wife sends a message by my friend, really, really good friend. She's since died of breast cancer, but we're very, very close. And the pastor's wife sent a message to me, that my life was going to be ruined. I was going to not have any success in life. I was going basically to go to hell. Basically my life is just going to be a wreck and in shambles until I come back to the church. And I was just straight condemned for leaving the church, even though they put me out, So anyway, so after that, I began to look for God on my own. I began to read scriptures, go over things. It became actually better for me to hear. It really did. I mean, people would think that that's strange because I wasn't going to church and I wasn't getting teachings and all this kind of stuff in their perspective. I felt at that time I was able to actually hear from the Spirit and everything and gain more understanding. And I just saw a lot in the scriptures that just was not, it just wasn't, I just saw a lot of discrepancies and things and so forth in the scriptures and everything. And so anyway, that was kind of the beginning of my spiritual journey. I think I did probably, I think I joined another church. Didn't say anything about being a minister or everything. I wasn't trying to be on no minister staff or nothing. I was just going to church, but not much. Because I was beginning to get on another journey. Anyway, I met an ex. He's an ex now. Met an ex. He had this whole different type of enlightenment that I had never. He had been into everything: Muslim, alchemy, Hebrew Israelite. I mean, he had been into everything, absolutely everything. So he was much more well versed in so many other things than I was. And so, long story short, he began to tell me things, introduce me to things, began to get me on a path to researching other things. Now, here's really the part of what I want to talk about in leaving Christianity, or leaving that Christian mind, leaving that religion or religious mind and all that. It's scary. Period. Plain and simple. It's scary. It's scary as hell. I was very combative, not as far as hitting. I wasn't hitting him, but I was very, very combative as far as fighting him with the word, fighting him with scriptures, now, because that's all I had. That's what I knew. That was my weapons. And basically his stand was always just read it. Just check it out for yourself. Just look at this here. And I didn't want to do that because, like I said, I was scared. I didn't realize that at the time that was my reason. I used the excuse of this is the Bible, this is the word of God, this is truth. All I know is Jesus, whatever, and that was my truth that I stood on. But like I say, he was challenging me to go outside of that, to look beyond that, And like I say, basically, I was just terrified to even do that. I just basically was telling him I don't need to look at it because it's not true, But anyway, so as I forgot exactly how he did it, but he actually tricked me into exploring. And I think what it was is he had been, and let me tell y'all another thing. I was very, very, and I'm going to try to sum this up real quick, all the rest of it. I was very, very green, very, very green. A lot of things that Christians even today know and understand. And, I didn't know that. Seriously, I didn't know. Stuff like Easter, stuff like Christmas, stuff like the 3 days, how they don't add up from the resurrection, whatever, the origins of a lot of Christian things. I didn't know. I didn't have any understanding of that. Nobody had ever brought that to me. And so, and mind you, I was in my 30s by the time I actually left Christianity. So, but it behooves me how you have a lot of Christians and people who will tell you, oh, well, yeah, I know that. And, yeah, I understand that, but this is such and such, And I'm just like, once I finally left and gained my understanding and everything, my thing was, how do you know that it's not true? And how do you know that Jesus could not have risen in 3 days and all this kind of stuff and still worship that and believe that and still go to church? How do you ration that to yourself that you know it's a lie, but you still go? I couldn't figure that out because that's not me. When I found out and began to explore the things that he was talking about, I was done. And it confused me. It hurt me. All of that. But I was done because it's like, I can't go back and live this lie. I mean, I could never look at Jesus, the church, the Christ, the ministry. I mean, I couldn't look at any of that the same anymore because the lie had been exposed to me. The lies had been exposed to me. And one thing about me is that once I have a truth or something, anything that's presented to me, I got to go all the way with it because I need all my questions answered. So that began his telling me to look and explore and find out this and everything began to lead me to, oh, well, let's find out if this is true. Well, let's see what this says about this. And, let's explore Mary and Joseph and all that. And let's find out if this is true. And, what's the background of this? Because that's the way my mind works. And so it just opened up a whole rabbit hole for me. And once, like I say, the bottom line is once I begin to journey and look at these things and look at the background and the origins and the sources and the reasoning behind a lot of these, the slavery thing behind, I didn't know anything about the whole slavery aspect or any of that behind Christianity. Never even thought about it. Never even thought about it. I found that on my own, but I never even thought about it. And so, I'm going to end the video, but I want to encourage you all, because if you're afraid, and I know that you are, because it's terrifying, because basically what's happening is you're having your whole foundation, your whole footing, your whole everything that you have has been a solid foundation and a truthful belief for you, your parents, your grandparents, your generations and everything being swept from up under you. And it's almost like, what do I do? Where do I go? If I don't have Christianity, where do I go? And to explore all of that is crazy. I remember when I left the church and everything and left all that, I was just like, man, what do I do on Sundays? Where do I go on Sundays? I mean, seriously, I was just like, what do you do on Sundays besides go to church? And I was embarrassed going to the stores and all of these things on Sundays because I'm like, I'm in a store at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, all these people in Houston don't know me, but it was me. I was just like, oh my God, what if somebody sees me? I'm supposed to be in church, and here I am at the grocery store in regular clothes, on a Sunday. I mean, that's the foolishness, but I had to deal with that kind of stuff because church was all I knew, and I really seriously had the idea that if I began to look and search and go into other books and things, that it meant that I had no faith. It meant that I didn't believe. It meant that I was challenging God. It meant that I basically had no faith, and therefore I'm pretty much going to hell. Because they tell you that the Bible is the unadulterated, truthful, that's the word of God, period. And so my thing was, well, if I'm looking for something else, or if I'm start reading a book about this, and what I mean, I'm challenging God, I'm questioning God, and you don't do that, So once I began to continue the journey and look and read and understand, and I mean, my curiosity got the best of me, and I realized I wasn't going to burn up and absolutely spontaneously combust into fire and go to hell. It was freeing. It was very freeing for me because it was so much terror and fear that is wrapped around Christianity and the belief of Christianity, even still today, it's a bully religion. It's a terroristic, in my opinion, religion. And most people's cultures and things that where Christianity is introduced and given to people, it's usually by force. It's usually by terror. It's usually by after they come and bring and introduce Jesus Christ and all this stuff to you, they usually steal from you, take your land, rape your women, kill your man. That's what happens. It's a very, very brutal religion, even though all they talk about is love. Go figure that one out. So anyway, bottom line, As I continued on in my spiritual now, I didn't even know it was no spiritual path that I had got on. I was just following the road. Um, and I began to look, I began to learn, I began to explore, I began to take off the chains, break the chains of religion and everything, and began to explore a spiritual path, nature, the earth, understanding Mother Earth, the divine feminine spirit. I mean, all of these things have come through years that I have, broke free from Christianity. But my last word to you is you're not going to go to hell. You're not going to. I even had to research hell, heaven, all of these concepts and everything. You're not going to go to hell. You're not going to burn up. You're not questioning God. You're not, there is no deity in the sky who's set to punish you if you don't, do everything he says or whatever. That's part of the terror, and it saddens me. It saddens me that this religion was given to our people in a time when we couldn't read, we couldn't write, we didn't have the understanding, we didn't know what that was. You just telling us that, you beating, hurting, raping us, skinning us, and all these things. And if we be good, and if we don't complain, if we are obedient, and if we work really hard, and if we do everything that you tell us to do, then when we die, we'll get a mansion in heaven and a big buffet and all of these great, wonderful, and it's just when you look back on it from where I am now, it seems foolish, but our people, that's all we had. That was the hope. That hope kept us alive, and so at this point, I don't argue with Christians and call them dumb and stupid and ignorant and you need to understand and you're just blah. I don't do them like that because I know where I come from, and I understand that spell, and I understand that stronghold, and I understand that fear to get out of it. That if you do not believe in Jesus Christ as the only begotten Son of God, and his blood was shed for you, and I'm like, it is hurtful to me that they did us like that, and they did our people like that, all for gain. All for gain, just to delude us, just to scare us, just to humble us into not fighting or rebelling against them and doing what they wanted, turn the other cheek. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Well, Jesus said, you have to love, even if I beat the hell out of you and kill your children, you still have to love me or you're not going to heaven, and that's crazy because America is basically based on Christianity. America says that it is a Christian nation. Who do they forgive? Who do they forgive? When you do something to the elite, when you do something to those in charge or whatever in America, you might as well get ready to die because you're done. There is no forgiveness. There is no love and, hugging you and, oh, we're just what I mean. America is right now, and I don't know how many countries right now bombing the hell out of them and killing children. So where is the love in that? It's a hypocritical nation, if nothing else, So guys, I just wanted to share that. I wanted to kind of throw my perspective in there and bring a little bit about my journey and how it happened with me. And the fact that I'm still here. I'm still growing. I'm still loving. I love more now. I understand more now. I have no fear of death. I have no hope of heaven or whatever. I have a hope of higher consciousness. I have a hope of growth. I have a hope of love, becoming more on this planet. I know those things are going to happen. It's just that it's so much that's going to have to die in order for those things to come in place, because so much has been set in place and set in order. It's been a system set on this earth. And the only way that system is going to be broken, and love and all the things that are supposed to be on this planet will come, is if those systems are broken. and they have to be broken by death. They have to be broken by those people who have put them in place and are continue to make those things work for them, not being here any longer, and those who are rising in consciousness and rising in understanding and belief and growth and embracing the mother goddess spirit and all these things, and masculine, divine masculine spirit. Don't y'all think that because, you know, I talk about the mother, divine mother goddess spirit and divine mother, divine feminine energy, that I'm not also embracing and lifting up and promoting divine male energy and spirit, because they are equal. They go hand in hand, you know. So, you know, just because I don't talk about that a lot, don't, you know, I'm sure somebody will call me a feminist. You have to. And say that I hate men and all this stuff. And, you know, I'm trying to, you know, promote woman, whatever. Anyway, people, you know, I think people need to love their mothers more. I think we have too many men who hate their mothers and have bad relationships with their mother, and they go and put all that crap out on all the other women in the world. You need to love your mom. You need to go sit down and talk to her and ask her why she did this and why her life was like this, and, you know, maybe some kind of way, you know, between her and your father or whatever, y'all can start learning how to love people and women, because it's really sad and pathetic, you know, what I see. And, you know, I'm not trying to promote that. I'm not trying to, you know, do videos about bashing people and everything. I notice that when I make a video saying anything about a black man or relationship or anything like that, my views go up. But when I start talking about just living and loving and life and all that kind of stuff, I don't get as many views, and that's fine with me. It's just that it just shows how we're so caught up in drama, and we like that foolishness, you know. We like that, you know. So you guys, y'all have a great day. You all, my recovery is still going fine. You know, I'm better. Still recovering though. And, you know, you guys love, and, you know, embrace peace and embrace hope and strive for hope and create your own existence. You know, create your own existence. We're not all victims of, you know, we're not just victims. You go out and create your own life and live, you know. So you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And until the next video, we'll see you next time.